Andrea, we can start recording if you're ready. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Once again, thank you for joining us for our Decision Maker Advocacy Power Prism training today. We're really grateful to be sharing space with you. I'm Petra Morrison, pronouns they, she, es en español. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am a National Senior Advocacy Consultant with Voices for Healthy Kids. I'm the preemption lead here at Voices for Healthy Kids, and I support my consulting team, which includes Raquel Bueno Morales. Raquel, would you like to take it away?
Thank you, Petra. Hi, everyone. I'm Raquel Bueno Morales, and I'm also one of the National Senior Advocacy Consultants at Voices. And I've been doing policy work for about 20 years, long enough to know that it's never boring. I've been a registered lobbyist and led campaigns and built coalitions and worked with city and state decision makers to pass policy and also sometimes to fail at passing policy. I like to say fail forward. But I've learned a lot from tough losses that I'm looking forward to sharing with you today. And yeah, I guess that's all for me.
Thank you, Raquel. And yeah, just a little bit of background for me as well. I've been doing advocacy work since I was a child, natural organizer, barrio organizing specifically with my family. But when it comes to the policy work, it's something that I'm pretty really new with. That's more about like 8 years or so. Been a policy director, as well as a registered lobbyist here in the state of Arizona, and have been consulting on campaigns for about going on 5 to 6 years now. So I'm very excited to dive deep on this issue with you and to get in the weeds of it today. Next slide, please. So we have an overview of our presentation on slide 2. It is the overview of today's call. It's an introduction to our Power Prism framework, an in-depth discussion of power mapping, the 5 key steps to the legislative process, planning memorable events, maximizing lawmaker meetings, and then some lobbying considerations. Next slide, please. Today's session is part of the Power Prism Framework training series. At Voices for Healthy Kids, we use the Power Prism advocacy framework created by My Power People LLC. The Power Prism framework is a step-by-step guide that will help you recognize and act on opportunities to build momentum in a campaign. Today, we're going to focus on decision maker advocacy, which is one of the advocacy tools within the Power Prism framework. This specific component of the Power Prism is intended to provide a clear plan to guide you through your work with decision makers throughout your entire advocacy campaign. Feel free to check out the website for additional tools and ideas on later days. Next slide, please. Influencing decision makers is all about making it easier for them to give you what you want. The Power Prism is built on those 6 powerful tools of advocacy, which you can see displayed on this the Prism, multicolored prism on the slide. These help apply pressure on decision makers to reach our policy goals. This common sense framework prompts advocates to stop and think for any kind of campaign event about expanding their power through activating any or all of the 6 power tools, rather than working in a linear step-by-step fashion. Too often, organizations can move from point A to point B within an advocacy campaign without considering all of the opportunities to build power and squeeze more juice out of their events and their campaign processes. Learning more about the key decision makers for your campaign will help ensure you are gearing your campaign work towards these specific lawmakers, and understanding who they are and how to influence them will help drive your campaign work. Next slide, please. While it's tempting to want to jump into methods and strategies initially, we know that winning policy campaigns are guided by 3 key questions, and everything you do in your campaign should be informed and guided by your answers to these questions. Those questions are: what do you want? Why do you want it? And who has the power to give it to you? What do you want is, what is the policy change that you're seeking to address within your issue? Why do you want it is the compelling arguments and the data that supports that case for that policy change. And who has the power to give it to you? Which specific decision makers in state or local government have the power to make that change with you and your advocates? This is the focus of the call today. Who has the power to give it to you? You may already know what you want. You already know why you want it, and you may already know who has the power to give it to you. But we'd really like you to think about them throughout today's session and including the prompts. The answer to these questions can change throughout the campaign, so it is helpful to get in the habit of revisiting them regularly. But once you have these answers, it is time to come up with your strategies for each of the power tools that will influence decision makers. Next slide, please. We're going to hand it on over to you, Raquel.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So while I have spent a lot of time around nutrition security for the last 3 years, I've been digging deep into paid family medical leave. So a lot of my examples today will come from that. But so I really enjoy supporting policy campaigns, but it is some of the hardest, messiest work we do. So let's dig in here a little bit more. Decision makers have the power to move your bill forward. They have the power to stall it, and they have the power to stop it completely. Down the road, you'll need a majority vote, but right now, there are a handful of lawmakers who matter the most. These are the people who either chair the committee your bill's assigned to, or they hold leadership positions in the legislature, and they have enormous influence over what happens next. To make this process easier, we've created 6 worksheets and tip sheets just for this section of the Power Prism on decision maker advocacy. And Petra's going to drop a link in the chat now for one that's called Decision Maker Worksheet. Earlier, Petra asked you to think about who has the power to make things happen in your campaign. Take that specific name, or if you didn't then, now think of one person, one decision maker who has some amount of power to make what you want to have happen, and add it to the worksheet. As we go through this section, keep listening and jotting down more names of key decision makers who come to mind. These are the people who can make or break your bill. Next slide. So there are key decision makers at every step of the process. Policy campaigns aren't straight lines, and they're full of gates and gatekeepers. In this graphic, in blue, you've got the committees tied to your bill. Committees, as I said, act as gatekeepers. Your sponsor or sometimes a lobbyist might be able to steer your bill towards a friendlier committee, sometimes not. Next, in teal, we have legislative leadership, caucus leaders, majority and minority leaders, and the Speaker of the House. And these folks hold enormous power. Quick example. In Pennsylvania, leadership stalled the paid family medical leave bill for an entire year, even though it looked like they had the votes. Why? You might be wondering. Politics. Big election year in 2026. So it will be even more important for them that they work every angle. Next on the graphic in light green, you've got the legislative body, the House and the Senate, and finally in orange, the executive branch, where you need the governor's signature. One thing, as I mentioned, you can count on is it's messy, and these bills take a lot of time. Sometimes, even after months of work, you end up right back at the start. And I know our guests today know all about that. Happens to all of us. I've been in states that have restarted their paid family medical leave campaigns 4 or 5 times. So that's 4 or 5 years that they're working on it. Yeah, it's hard to imagine. But for those of you who have worked the same bill for multiple years, right now in the chat, what's the longest you've worked a bill? I want to see those numbers. And here's a story from Virginia while you're doing that. So twice, the paid family medical leave advocates in Virginia made it all the way to the governor's desk, only to get it vetoed. And this year, they knew he'd likely veto it again. So why bother? What do you guys think? I want to see your answers in the chat to that, because there's a lot of right answers. And here's a little twist. So last month, Virginians elected a new governor who is on record as supporting paid leave. So a question for you is, if they hadn't kept pushing these last 2 years, would they be ready now for 2026? Maybe, maybe not. But the relationships they've built with decision makers along the way, those are vital and will be important for 2026. We know that much. Next slide. So once you've identified your key decision makers, the next step is decision maker research. And we've got a worksheet for that to make it easy. Take a look at the Pathways of Influence worksheet that Petra will be dropping in the chat. Power mapping is all about creating a relationship map. Learn everything you can from the public sources and conversations with people who know them. Next slide. So, what really motivates these decision makers and what do they care about? Start with the most basics. The legislative bios, the campaign information, those details can really spark connections. Maybe you went to the same college or you both have spouses in healthcare. Next, look at their district. Lawmakers care about their constituents. Knowing what matters most in their community helps you frame your issue. And finally, dig into what drives them. What issues do they champion and care about the most? Education, public health, childcare. Check their legislative history, their family ties, their community involvement. These clues reveal pathways of influence, shared interests, mutual contacts, and even personal stories. For example, you might learn that their kids attend a certain school, the same school, their spouse might be a pediatrician, or they serve on the AACP state board. Those details aren't trivial, but they're bridges. So find those connections and follow through. And the really neat part is that when you power map with others in your coalition, unexpected nuggets always pop up, and soon the whole picture comes to life. Next slide. So grab your phones if you have them nearby, and let's do a quick power mapping exercise. Earlier, you identified one key decision maker. Now go to one of their social media accounts. Doesn't matter. It could be your favorite, or if you've seen on their website which social media accounts they use, you could go to one of those. And look and see, first, do they follow you? Do they follow anyone in your organization? Or if not, who do they follow that might be a partner organization? Do they follow people and organizations that you already have strong relationships with? And maybe think about how you can leverage those connections. And this is where the influence starts to take shape. So now next slide. Now I'm going to introduce our first guest, who is going to share a bit about her direct decision maker experience. As Senior Regional Lead for State Government Relations at the American Heart Association, Jada Schaefer oversees advocacy strategy across 3 southern states, including Alabama. She manages multi-million-dollar grants and has secured more than 50 state and local policy wins. Previously, she led statewide advocacy efforts at Voices for Alabama's Children. She has nearly 20 years of experience in public policy advocacy and coalition leadership across the Southeast. She is passionate about team building, cross-sector collaboration, and data-driven strategies that improve policy outcomes. Welcome, Jada.
Thank you. So I'm a little bit of a dork when it comes to power mapping. I've really seen the power of it. I am just going to share a little story of he was an up and coming senator, Senator Garland Gudger, who is now our Senate pro tem. He was carrying a bad tobacco bill that ultimately was harmful to kids. Through the research, I'd learned that he had 2 teenage son boys. He was an athlete. He was a former city council member. He ran a nonprofit for kids. He cared about mental health, especially when it came to kids, and he was a small business owner. And so I utilized messaging and data around kids being targeted by the tobacco industry, but also how nicotine impacts a child's health, and especially the brain and mental health. I utilized a story from an athlete who had a half of a lung from vaping, and we did an ad in his local newspaper, not an ad, I'm sorry, an op-ed in his local newspaper. His city council members, I did not have relationships with them. However, I had built relationships with the Jefferson County Mayors Association and city council members, and I just asked, like, who knows Senator Gudger, and a couple of them did, and I asked them to make phone calls, did a little bit of education, and then asked them to make phone calls. And then I also did that same technique with a juvenile judge that was in his district that he had a relationship with. One of the things that I'd really love to do most is to reach out to those organizations that they're engaged with. And so he was engaged with a couple of different universities, athletic associations, church groups, and did a little bit of conversation around educating them on the bill and what was important. And asked them if I could use if they would sign on to a letter of support and use their logos, and to try to influence them there. And then also shared our like action alerts with them. I think the cool thing that came out of this was he ultimately let me use his son Trip, to go around and to influence other legislators. And, it was a bill that Big Tobacco had put on. They had lots of lobbyists. So it was really powerful to watch that in action and play out in real time. But also, we ultimately got the penalties removed off children and mandated on the retailers. And so it was a huge win. And that took about 3 years to get done. We kept killing it, using some of these tactics, but then ultimately we were able to get it amended to where we wanted it to be. And I'm going to hand it over. Are you doing this, Raquel, or is it Petra? I'm sorry, Petra. I
Thank
think
you,
it's
Jada. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights and experience with these key concepts put into action, Jada. We really appreciate it. And that's one of the big reasons why we wanted to have you on this call because of the amazing work that you get to do.
Well,
Um,
that's really fun. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. So we've outlined the standard initial steps and key actions to take through your policy and advocacy campaign while engaging with decision makers every step of the way. Next slide, please. And next slide, actually, we'll move on to the initial steps. So secure a bill sponsor. At this step in the process, you'll most likely have this person in mind since you've asked yourself the three key questions and have gone through the power mapping process, but you secure that bill sponsor strategically, of course. After your bill sponsor has introduced the bill, it is likely that it will be assigned to a legislative committee and the first hearing date will be scheduled. The sponsor's staff will generally track the bill movement, and you can also call the State House or City Hall and just ask which committee your bill has been assigned to. Coordinating with your bill sponsor's staff on any of your advocacy work is very important, inclusive of tracking the bill as it moves. And you'll essentially rinse and repeat this particular process for each committee stage. Next slide, please. There are 5 key actions to your process that we're going to walk through, the first of which is looking at the committee roster. When your bill reaches a committee, the first step is to identify who has the power to give you what you want, and in most cases, that's the chair and vice chair of the committee. They set the agenda and decide whether your bill moves forward. Next, you'll look at the full committee roster, including the House and Senate members, if applicable. These colleagues often influence the chair and the vice chair. So understanding their positions can help you build pressure where it's the most strategic, where it's going to be the most that matters to the case that you're trying to make. And of course, you're going to want to do some of the research, right? You're going to research their bios, district, staff contacts, office hours. These details will help you find personal connections, plan coordinated outreach, and compiling everything into a contact sheet with emails, phone numbers, and your personal connections to them for quick access is going to help you, your advocacy team, your advocates, and your coalition and partner allies to be able to coordinate like the most effective strategies to apply pressure to these committees. Finally, you're going to leverage that network. Check and see if any of your partners or supporting organizations are based in these lawmaker districts, as these advocates can have a significant leg up being a direct constituent of these lawmakers and be really powerful voices. And last but not least, we just want to note that some campaigns have the capacity to do more extensive research called pathways of influence research on these key decision makers. These pathways of influence reports can provide deeper insights into relationships, priorities, and motivations. We do dive much deeper into these reports in our Power Prism trainings, but that's actually going to be in the research and data collection power tool trainings, which we do have, a lot of training scheduled in the coming year, so keep an eye out. Next slide, please. You're going to want to coordinate with your bill sponsor. Your sponsor may recommend next steps, timing for advocacy, and ideas on how to keep the bill moving forward, but you don't just rely on them alone. You, your organizational partners, advocates, and their legislative staff will continue to coordinate on information sharing and ideas to keep that bill moving forward. Your sponsor and their staff may have important intel about existing support and opposition that others might not have. Find out what their recommendations are for next steps, what their ideas are on how your advocacy can keep the bill moving forward, and who they know that might be supportive on the committee and who is not. Next slide. Mobilize your grassroots and key contacts. Mobilize them to reach out to committee members, especially the chair and the vice chair, in support of the bill. Identify advocates in the committee members' districts. Prioritizing outreach from their constituents will often give a leg up. This doesn't mean that calls from outside of their district aren't important as well, but we do want to make sure that they're getting connected to the people that are within their districts and making note of that. Sending out action alerts with email templates and phone scripts helps make engagement easy for advocates as well, right? Being able to send out an email or a text reminder to get these advocates to be able to make that phone call about the issues that they care about, putting them in direct contact with these decision makers makes a huge world of difference. So encouraging those phone calls, honestly, just a few can really have significant impacts on the support that is going to be needed to get this bill to pass. And then, of course, asking partners and allies to activate their networks and see who has organizational leadership who would be willing to personally contact committee chairs. Calls from executive directors or board members can make a huge difference when someone has a particular level of expertise in an issue area that can influence that lawmaker's decision making on how to vote. Next slide, please. And then plan legislative meetings and hearings. Activate your advocates to attend bill hearing events. So you will work with your legislative sponsor and their staff to plan those hearing events and plan around those hearing events. Bill hearing events are great opportunities to bring those advocates that you're working with, your key contacts, into the same space, either the same room or via Zoom, to legislators and legislative staff, and to educate committee members, sponsors, and staff about the bill and its real world impacts regarding this particular issue. Having expert speakers and personal testimony can be critical, but this does take work and preparation. Raquel will take a closer look at this in a few minutes as well, by the way. Plan with your key contacts and grassroots to set up legislative meetings and create a set of materials that can be used in those meetings. So it's a lot of pre-work and post-work to make those meetings all the more effective. Next slide, please. And last but not least, give hero opportunities and thanks. Thinking about the ways to elevate and highlight the great work that your advocates and your bill sponsor are doing together looks like social media shout outs, letters to the editor, or op-eds. These small actions can turn a supporter of a bill into a long-term, if not lifelong, champion for this issue. Always follow up with a thank you email after meetings or positive actions. It's simple, but it really does build strong relationships, and just a little goes a long way. So what are the hero opportunities that you've been working on? What are the hero opportunities that you've seen? These are just generally chances to make decision makers look and feel good about the work that they're doing with you, and also helps deepen the connections that they have with the advocates that they're working with. Again, writing that op-ed to thank them, including their quotes in press releases or posting favorable tweets. Again, a little goes a long way. I think my Nina used to say it's like manners cost us nothing. Next slide, please. And I'm going to be handing it on over to Raquel for a deeper dive on selecting and planning special legislative events.
Thank you, Petra. Yes, you just heard a little bit about legislative meetings and also bill hearings from Petra. And now we're going to, because there are other tools in our toolbox, we're going to talk about some other events. So when planning a special legislative event, whether it's a policy briefing, sometimes they call them informational sessions, they call them like a lot of different things in different states, whether it's a briefing or a lobby day or a press conference or press event, think of it as a strategic opportunity to make your champion shine. And of course, also build momentum for your bill. And be ready to do most of the work because it will fall on you. It's normal, but it's really worth it. Events can take a lot of coordination, but with a good plan and a solid agenda and hopefully some volunteers, it becomes more manageable. So this is your chance to make your bill sponsor look good, and that makes them even more willing to help you down the road. And if reporters don't show up, which does happen sometimes, you can still create a buzz after the fact through social media. Bottom line, make some noise, make your champions shine. And when you do that, you build goodwill and the decision makers notice. Next slide. So today we've talked about how public hearings are a powerful opportunity to influence lawmakers. Well, we have got a tips for testifying sheet I want you to know about, and Petra will drop a link to that in the chat in a bit. The Cliff Notes, though, for testifying, keep it personal. Tell your story and emphasize your why. Sure, do some homework before the hearing and find out who's on the committee, what districts they represent. And ideally, you all have advocates who testify who live in their districts, since we know constituent voices really carry weight. And remember that testimony isn't about repeating facts or figures. You've probably shared those with your handouts, but really make your testimony memorable by keeping it personal, that personal connection, that story that shows why this issue really matters to you. Speak from the heart. That's the most important thing, and that's what the lawmaker will remember. Next slide. So your bill sponsor is your champion, and so picking the right one really sets the course for the entire campaign. I remember when I was in my 20s just starting out, it was so tempting to think about a champion like, I like that decision maker. They're nice to me. We get along. We are like-minded. But I quickly learned that the criteria needs to be a lot different than that. Sure, it doesn't help if you like them and that you're like-minded. But think of it like picking a guide to climb Mount Everest. You want the person who can get the job done. Next, build a strong list of co-sponsors, and we know they matter because lawmakers listen to their colleagues. A quick example from Pennsylvania, again, the Family Care Act has 60% of the Senate as co-sponsor and 40% of the House members are co-sponsors. And obviously that's a amazing feat and accomplishment that the coalition there has done. And yet we know that the politics have stalled this bill. That level of support, though, puts them in a very strong position when the timing's right. And don't stop there. Caucuses can be powerful allies. When an entire caucus backs your bill, it's much harder for leadership to ignore it. And finally, we also have letters of support. Joint letters from co-sponsors and caucuses to key decision makers, they really show broad support and can move your bill forward. So if your sponsor is open to it, draft a letter for them, and lawmakers appreciate, you saving them time. Next slide. We'll pass it to our second guest today here. Erin Bennett is the American Heart Association's Government Relations Director for Idaho and Nevada. She brings extensive experience in public and government affairs in challenging landscapes like Idaho, specializing in policy analysis, strategic advocacy, and partnership building. Erin has led efforts on expanding access to care, defending against preemption, and advancing complete streets, collaborating with diverse advocacy organizations across Idaho. Erin is going to share a bit about her own insights into engaging decision makers every step of the way through her work in Idaho and Nevada. Thank you, Erin, so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Raquel, and appreciate that knowledge. I'll just jump in because you reminded me of one of the things that I've worked on recently with our postpartum Medicaid expansion, in that picking the right advocate and the right sponsor for your bills is so important, and having the right people to be in the right positions. We have worked on Medicaid expansion and defended Medicaid expansion in Idaho for several years, but 2 years ago, we were able to get postpartum Medicaid expanded through very challenging circumstances with a majority leader in the House that had opposed Medicaid expansion at all costs, but was key in getting that vote for the floor vote if we made it there. And she was someone who had always been a very ardent pro-life supporter, and we knew that in her background. So used that to leverage the conversation about protecting moms and babies and making sure moms are healthy when they have a new baby at home, and making sure families can support a new baby. So with that, we had some strange partnerships with lots of people we wouldn't necessarily sit next to, but that helped us create an environment that she felt she could support, and ended up being a champion for our postpartum Medicaid expansion because of all the other pieces we were able to bring into it, despite the fact that she did not want to expand Medicaid in any sense of the word. So that was one of the things that picking the right sponsor is so important. And we were able to get that through the legislature after many hurdles, but managed to get that done. But then there's also some other pieces that I'd throw in there. Is one of the things that we've done in early childhood education, in our Complete Streets work, is making sure you have that local district information. One of the things we like to do is do a district card for specific legislator. Make sure you're getting as low level detail, as district specific as possible, and putting a specific district information. So for Complete Streets, we got information on how many crashes there had been that involved kids and how much it costs every time that happens, and then pairing that with a story. So making sure you have an advocate in the district that can have conversations with legislators when they're out of session, so that that person is ready to be a champion when you're ready to go during legislative session or during city council meetings and what have you. So making sure that they know that there are people in their district that want them to do this, and they have the statistics to back it up with the stories. I always say, bring, the informational statistics, bring a story of someone specific, and then bring your ask, and you will have champions that are willing to step up. We had some really good work with partners on early childhood education, because we invited them to different types of activities at daycare centers, letting them see what actually happens there. And because most of these folks are a little bit older, their kids were taken care of by other family members. They maybe didn't have kids that went to daycare, or it's been so long they don't see the challenges that exist now. So showing them what's happening on the ground now is definitely a way to get them a little bit more engaged and a little bit better champions, so that they can take a hold of that information. And then having those champions that talked to them come to legislative session or make those phone calls and advocate with other legislators or council members to be in a part of that the whole way through. So that way you're advocating for your advocates are engagement and making sure they're in on everything. And then you get sponsors who feel like they can be champions a little bit better. And all of those pieces also allow lots of opportunities for media events. And Complete Streets, we managed to invite legislators to walk to school day and bike to school day. Those are huge media events for them that they can highlight their work in partnership with our work. So making them feel like they're really engaged with all the pieces and parts of things helps make sure that they're willing to carry that policy forward as far as they can throughout the process that legislative sessions can be in terms of the challenges. So I'd say all the pieces and parts stacking together really are what's needed to get that policy moving forward, but ensuring that you have those champions and sponsors engaged the whole way. So they see it from their legislative district level through to the state level and passage of the policy. So that's all I have. So I think I will turn it back to Petra.
Thank you so much, Erin. Always an honor to share space with you. I love being able to have my regular meetings with Erin on all things Idaho. We're both pretty big on complete streets, so yeah, I love being able to hear the updates from Erin whenever we have check-ins. Next slide, please. We're going to be moving a little deeper into those meetings with lawmakers, this portion of today's training. And then we'll also hear another great story from our last guest speaker of the day, which I'm very excited to introduce as well, before we finish up with some lobbying considerations. Next slide. So, keys for effective meetings with lawmakers. So, I personally cannot emphasize this component enough. Staff shape lawmakers' views. Staff, like building relationships with staff, is going to be huge. Election year after election year, seeing that staff, them knowing who you are, it's so vital. And I don't think people realize just how important it is to have those positive relationships, get to know them, really get to know them as people. Um, and treating staff meetings like legislator meetings, they're key allies. Preparing for a staff meeting with the same care as you would for a lawmaker is going to be very similar, right? I mean, they're going to debrief them once they're done with that conversation with you. They're going to add it to the list of things that they have to debrief the lawmaker on for the rest of the day. And it's so important that you get to know staff. You're also going to want to recruit constituents from key districts, right? So think of those contacts you have in your advocacy portfolio. Those who are within your advocacy network, they're going to be partner organizations, community members who care about the issue that live in those key districts. It shows the lawmakers that voters care. They can hear you and I speak all day. They can hear our partner orgs speak all day. But when it comes to the community members who are not who are not familiar, who they're not as familiar with, and they aren't there every single day, it really brings a new voice to the perspective, and lends to the perspective that the lawmakers really need to see. You're going to want to plan to learn and not just convince. Respect by researching their interests ahead of time and also being curious about them. It's building relationships and building bridges, essentially. And then be brief. Ask their opinion and listen actively. Keep your message concise. Time is limited. Invite their thoughts. How does this align with your priorities? And listen carefully. Take notes. Understanding their concerns and their hesitations or whatever they do care about, when it comes to this particular issue, it helps tailor future outreach. Next slide, please. Additionally, we have a tips for meeting with lawmakers and staff, which I can throw into the chat a little bit later when we have our guest speaker on. It's a preparation packet of information that you're going to leave with your lawmakers, helps you familiarize yourself with their bios, urges you to email them with information that you're going to want to review that they're going to want to review prior to the meeting, and then reconfirm the meeting in that time, right? Either by email or by phone. Next slide, please. And it goes back to that, right? People remember how you make them feel. It's less about the details and content sometimes. And so keeping this in mind when meeting with them helps you build those bridges and find commonalities and focus on the connection. Your goal in meeting with these decision makers and their staff is to build a bridge and make a meaningful connection. It is possible that the person that you're meeting with, whether it's the lawmaker or the staff, shares their own personal story that's related to your issue. Listen and empathize. Make sure to let the staff who are leading your campaign know what you've learned, because that lawmaker might be a good ally in the future and might be willing to share their own experience with your peers or the media. Next slide. And then we also have a decision maker meeting feedback form. Making sure that advocates have meeting feedback forms before they go to their meeting allows them to have that preparation and that mindset throughout the process. Ask just one advocate to fill out this form and send it back to your campaign staff. This helps you keep track of which lawmakers have had meetings and with who, what their feedback was, and any other useful information that might help you and your team and your network strategize for future conversations with them and potentially others. And while it's not directly stated on this form, take a moment to reflect with your advocates and allies to make space for how they feel, how their experience was, and the ways to meet those needs that they have. Their experiences and their feelings matter so much in that moment. So before and after care really should center that community of people that are coming into the room. Speaking of which, we're really delighted and honored and excited to introduce a story from the front line from Indiana Government Relations Director Christina Sesnick. She is the dynamic government relations director for the American Heart Association in Indiana, and she's both a leader and community advocate that has been recognized for her ability to create and plan large-scale events that inspire action. She has earned multiple honors for her impact, including an advocacy award from the Council on Domestic Abuse, the American Heart Association Advocacy Rookie of the Year Award, and the AHA's Strategic Impact and Achievement Team Award. With a career spanning public policy, nonprofit leadership, and grassroots engagement, Chris brings a unique voice to the government relations role, one that blends both professional excellence with a deep dedication to storytelling, community building, and human connection. I'm so excited to have Chris on this call. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Hi, everybody. I think really what I'm here to tell a story about knowing your people, knowing when to lead and when to stand back, and just persevering. When we were last year working on cardiac emergency response plans for schools, it was a bill that has had its ups and downs before I took on this role. And it was generally supported in one chamber, but not in the other. And more to the point, it wasn't supported by the chair people for either education committee. So a lot of it had to do with the success that we saw has to do with being able to find the right champion. And that champion isn't just your legislator. I mean, they're key and they're important, but it's also that volunteer, that one volunteer who this just means more to them than just about anything else that's happening. And if you can find that volunteer who is also like well-spoken and polite and funny and engaging, there isn't anything you really need to do after that except understand the process. And to be honest with you, this was a bill that originally was put forth and it received a hearing in education committee, and it actually passed. And then it was sent to an appropriations committee where it was never heard, and that bill was killed. Now, the champion for that bill, our senator, she didn't let it go. She kept talking to the chair of appropriations. She talked to the caucus leaders. She talked to the other chambers leaders, and she was doing all of this behind the scenes. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hallway, my volunteer, my advocate champion, was in the state house. She brought people with her. She brought other advocates who had implemented these response plans in their schools or in their workplaces. And they were there for committee and they testified. She testified. She had lost her son to cardiac arrest in 2013, which was a time at which AEDs were around, but they tended to be in coaches' offices and they were locked away because they were so expensive and we needed to take care of them. And she was very good about explaining how that wasn't, she didn't blame anybody for that. She was an educator herself and she remembered it. But now that's not important. That is, as long as it's near the people, that's what's going to save lives, not being far away. And so we watched this bill, and she came down. She drove 2.5 hours south to be at the State House every single time that bill was going to be on a calendar. Whether she was going to be able to testify or not, she wanted them to see her face. She wanted them to know that she was there and she was watching. She wanted them to look her in the eye when they voted. And she was there. We kept each other's spirits up as we were going through, because I mean, this was really a roller coaster ride. Our champion got that language amended into another bill that was authored by the chair of the education committee that hated this bill. But she got it amended on there, and she met with him multiple times to try and keep it on there. And we really didn't think we had a chance. And he agreed to meet with us, with Julie and I. And just before that meeting, she was like, "Okay, are you ready?" And I said, "No, I don't think so. I think it needs to be you. I think I'll stay here and I'll wait for you to come out of that meeting and you have that meeting." And she asked me why. And I said, because he knows I'm paid to be here and he'll tell me all the reasons no, that he can't do it. He doesn't like it and all of that. And he'll just talk to me. I need you to go in there because he has to tell you no. He has to tell you why he's okay with another child just like yours. And not me, not the practical part of it, not this is just the job, but he has to tell you. And she went and she said, "You're right, good idea." And she went right in and had that meeting and came out, by the way, incredibly frustrated. But, it was there. We had the meeting. And that meeting, it went through, it got voted on again, and it passed again. And then, as any bill that gets changed from one chamber to another, it has to go back to conference committee. And basically, the author has to agree with the amendments that were made. And we just knew that he would not let this deregulation bill pass with a mandate on it. And our senator went on behind the scenes and she worked that room like nobody's business. And you would never know that because she's a really quiet, unassuming lady. She's wonderful, but you just don't see her as being a powerhouse. And she is a powerhouse because at the last minute, that bill went through. So not only did we have AEDs at every athletic event, at every extracurricular event with a plan of action, but it also got funding. And it was unheard of in a year where we were making all kinds of cuts. So just knowing and persisting and staying there and making sure that you have somebody with you that also keeps you going forward is the key to really working through this and getting things passed and knowing when to go forward and when to hang back and let other people do the job. Because as much as I'd love to control every piece and be a puppet master, it just doesn't work that way.
Right.
But that's my story. Thanks for
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Petra.
you so much. That was a very powerful story. Thank you for sharing that story out of Indiana. And it is true. You find that right volunteer advocate who you can elevate and make it less about us, and it's golden. So thank you. All right, next slide. And we're just have a couple of slides and then we're going to end today. So if you are planning on meeting with legislators about issues you care about, make sure you really understand your state and local lobbying laws. Nonprofits, 501c3s, can and do lobby all the time, and it's legal and it's totally permissible. In fact, our democracy really depends on it. We don't want only corporations shaping policy. We want nonprofits to also be bringing their expertise and real life community experience and community members to the table. So your voice really matters. We aren't going to go into too much detail, next slide, about lobbying, but I have a couple of kind of cliff notes for you all on this call. Nonprofits can lobby if you follow a few straightforward rules, file any required lobbying registration or fees, track and report lobbying expenditures and hours for direct and grassroots lobbying you're doing, report lobbying activity on your 990, ensure lobbying remains an insubstantial portion of your total organizational activity. And we know that nonprofits cannot support or endorse candidates for public office, cannot endorse candidates or share organizational lists with campaigns, and nonprofits cannot promote campaign events unless every advocate for the same seat is invited and given the equal opportunity, equal time, and you have a paper trail showing that. Next slide. And one reason why I didn't go into too much detail is because we actually have an upcoming training on lobbying and non-lobbying activities. It's called Right Up to the Line. It's led by one of the very best experts in this space, attorney Alan Madison. And if you haven't attended before one of his sessions, do yourself and your nonprofit a favor and come and join us. And as always, it's offered at no cost. Next slide. Looks like I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Petra. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Raquel. So just a few final thoughts. Knowing which individual lawmakers specifically have the power to give you what you want is critical. This allows you to utilize all the power tools that you have to influence key decision makers to support your campaign's goals. Remember this, work takes time. Even if your bill does not pass the first time it is proposed, you are learning the key pathways of influence, building valuable support along the way, and educating lawmakers for the future. Not to mention building power, sharing power with those who are most impacted, and engaging in ground softening activities. You are making change through the work, not just as a result of it. And I think all of our speakers today were quite exemplary of that. I know Raquel and I have a very unique privilege to have insights into their campaigns. And I know that some of the work that at least Chris was doing and Jada's been talking about and Aaron's been talking about, like this is like a relay race, right? Like we're passing the baton to one another to get these things to move forward. So it's not just, this policy campaign, but it's also part of a larger movement. I want to thank all of our guest speakers for their time and their energy in bringing their experiences with us today to just kind of elevate today's call from the standard just reading off of slides. And I also want to thank everybody for sharing time and space with us today to listen. I do believe that we have a few questions in the chat. We might be able to follow up and get back to you on some of those a little later, but all of the tip sheets are also within the chat as well. And last but not least, please take less than a minute to fill out this brief survey that we have. This helps us optimize these calls, make them more effective, and meet the needs that you folks have. We can't do better or be better without your contributions of feedback, and that is a gift. We are open to it. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us.